Hello.
Good morning.
When they live in the sense of yesterday. Where did I even put the music? Oh, over here on Spotify. Bless. Hello, everyone. Hi.
How are we?
Good morning. What's up, schmookums? What's up, pookies? How's it going? I'm feeling good. Chris does this too. Did you see Chris during this off season in the Discord by any chance, Elizabeth? He was posting like those grandma good morning memes of like it's really sparkly. It was like all in script. It was like flowers and puppies and kittens. It was like good morning sunshines and everyone's like,
That's so cute.
Is our district manager okay? And he was like, I'm vibing. This is off season. That's why I feel like that.
I love it.
All right, with the ass takes as Hugh Cats. Should have been a Hollywood Undead song. No. We're going Canadian today for a very specific reason. And now we're put on a watch list. Anyway, hello, everyone. Ben, Pericles, Not Seth, Panda, hello. Vaporpunk, first one in here. Appreciate that. Elizabeth, how are you doing?
I'm recovering from an illness, so on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm probably like a 6.
That's
better than
bad.
before.
6 is pretty good.
Yeah, better than before.
6 is great.
Still not perfect.
Yeah.
It was real tough on like Saturday, Sunday. I was just a little zombie. So moving on up, making thoughts happen today. So that'll be good.
Did Elizabeth get down with the sickness?
I did get down with the sickness. My mom actually went and saw Disturbed in concert recently, which I just think
cool.
about the mental image of that. Like, I wish I could have been there for that, just to see mostly see my stepdad.
Sorry, Chad, I'm recording for the grams. You know what we have to do. Okay, also, in addition to Elizabeth being down with the sickness, I had to wake up early. Someone's alarm in this house, not mine, rang at 5 a.m. So then it rang at 5. I woke up. My Garmin watch is like, oh, you're sleeping at like a 60% beats per minute. I guess I was in such a deep sleep when the alarm rang. I was having a fucking heart attack because suddenly you can see my Garmin like heartbeat go boom. So I was up for a little bit after that. And then I went back to sleep and I woke up at like 9:55 and I texted Elizabeth. I was like, I am so sorry. I'm going to be a little delayed.
Yeah. And I am ill, so it's fine. It all worked out. Everyone is here. We did it. We made it. I woke up to a cat knocking my hair clip off of the windowsill and then kicking it around on the floor. And then we had a snuggle.
What? Oh, one out of 6 cats only woke you up? That's actually pretty impressive for having that many cats.
Well,
what are the rest of them doing? Plotting?
Pretty much. They're usually asleep, and then when they hear my alarm go off, usually then they start to go crazy.
That's so funny. Landy with the 43 months. 43 months is insane. Love you in this community, and Elizabeth as well. Thank you, Landy.
Thank you.
43 months is a very long time, Landy. You should seek help. Can you get out of here? Is this a cult? Are we not letting you leave? Is that what's happening here? I'm just making sure you're... Yeah, just blink twice, Landy, if you need help. No, but I hope you're doing well. Not Seth mentioned, yes, this weekend is going to be Formula 1, which we will talk about. Sorry, I'm trying to also yap and post and be like, oh my God, watch us live. We are live.
Posting. Should I repost this? I should repost.
Should I repost this? Chat, you should post us posting about... Just do an inception. Chad, is there any news that I missed? Oh, I guess we can casually talk about, not officially on the podcast recording, the whole Roxy, AO racing shenanigans.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Dumb.
Yeah.
I don't know if people have thoughts about that.
I don't even know how to summarize it, because this was while I was ill. And Chris was giving me the rundown, and I was like, this sounds about like people being people. But also, I do really like their social media person, AO Racings. She's been in the sport forever. She's like the most liberal person I know. I think she's great. So.
Yeah,
it
was memes. Get over yourself. Faf sent her Faf did send her tickets to Sebring, which is funny.
That's funny.
Yeah, I think it was on all
tickets to Sebring.
I went on the Reddit, which I don't know if chat knows, or if you're in the Discord, you know this. I recently received. I've had a Reddit account for years, but I guess I haven't been on it like every single day. I just received my on it for straight 150 days and contributing, like upvoting or commenting. But
Wow.
but I do that one on like "Am I the Asshole" post because I read those every night to my SO when we're in bed and I'm just like,
I
ooh,
love that.
listen to this drama that's on ours.
I'm so glad that I'm not the only one because I don't really use Reddit, but I follow an Instagram account that like picks one every day, and then like that's my gossip for the end of the day. I sit there and I read my "Am I the Asshole?" and
All
drives
the time.
Chris crazy.
Well, I know some of them
I
are definitely fake.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know if you've
Some of
noticed
them
this
are fake.
trend. You notice this trend,
Mm.
Elizabeth, in chat if you read "Am I the Asshole" post. It's always women going, I set a boundary. My husband's making me feel like shit, slash not defending me against his mother-in-law. Have I gone too far? And then it's men being like, I beat my wife. Am I the asshole? And I'm like,
Yeah.
what are these discrepancies? I was like, why are women
Yeah.
constantly like, oh, I told people how I felt. Did I go too far? Is it my too much? And men being like, I don't know, I killed some kids today and they were loud, so I think it was justified. It's always like the extremes of both sides of these "Am I the Asshole" posts. It's insane.
It's so crazy. It can make you lose your faith in humanity, if only just because their narrative ability of making things up is like just miserable. Take a creative writing class, fellas. It's not that hard.
It's just it's so weird that, oh, HCats, look at me. HCats sent me a photo, said, look at me posting about this bitch posting. Thank you, HCats. Yeah, it's always, wait, there's a good "Am I the Asshole" post. Please hold. I'm reading it while we have the time chat. What else are you guys doing? Working? Please. Get out of here.
Gross.
Because there's nothing I hate more than why would you marry someone and not have their back? And I understand not for everything, right? Like if I murdered someone, I'm
Yeah.
hoping my SO is not like, oh yeah, that's fine. Or if I
Oh.
was an absolute terrible person or said something absolutely horrible, my SO would call me out and like have accountability.
Oh.
I
I'm
think
hoping that if I were to kill someone, Chris would absolutely be there, helping me with the body.
yeah, Taylor says that too. He says he's down to help me with the body, but I was like, no, you should
Oh
probably
yeah.
make sure that I am
No.
not murdering. It's like I'm not like a daredevil. I'm not doing it for a good cause. Like, okay, I'm 32 female. I'm currently 8 months pregnant with our first child. My husband Tom, 35, and I have been together for 7 years. An overall great relationship. The only issue, his mom, 62 female, Linda. Classic. Once a week at least.
Linda.
Mother-in-law post at minimum. Linda has always been overbearing, the type of mother who insists on calling her son my baby and insists that she knows what's best for him. Since we have announced a pregnancy, she's always been way too involved. She constantly gives unsolicited advice, criticizes my choices, and refers to the baby as our baby, which personally makes me feel a little uncomfortable. The breaking point came last week when she casually says, I can't wait to be there for the birth. I want to be first to hold my grandbaby. I was shocked. I never invited her, and I always assumed the only person in the room besides the medical staff would be my husband. I told her, as politely as possible, that I wasn't comfortable having anyone except Tom in the delivery room. She immediately flipped out, saying that was unfair. She had a right to be there, and that she was present for the births of her other nieces and nephews. She accused me of trying to push her out of the baby's life. Later, Tom told me I should just let her be there to keep the peace, since it's a big moment for his family. I told him this is my
Yeesh.
medical procedure and I should have control over his in the room. He then said I was being dramatic and it's just a few extra people. What's the harm?
Bro.
Now I feel like
See,
I'm being
these
ganged
always
up
piss
on.
me off.
I don't want to destroy my relationship with my mother-in-law. You absolutely should.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to anger my husband. Am I the asshole? No, you're
This
not.
is time to go nuclear. I don't want an audience. I don't want to have kids anyway, but I certainly don't want to have an audience
Yeah, this
staring
isn't
as a like
not opening day at the Philharmonic. Like we're not doing this. This is not. I'm not here to like entertain
Yeah.
you.
yeah.
To stare at me while I'm
Yeah.
giving birth. No, thank you.
There are so many like am I the assholes on that similar trend of like mother-in-law wants to be in the delivery room while I'm giving birth and I'm like absolutely not. No. No. We are not going to like my Vajango is not your movie screen. I'm sorry, no.
Yeah, if you want to have people in the room, that's totally fine. But
Yeah.
if the woman who is pushing the baby and has carried it for 10 months essentially has said no thank you, we're listening to her. The mother-in-law can be there in the hospital. She can be right outside the door as soon as the baby's ready to be held. Let's go. But to be
we
like,
live stream the birth with the doctor view. Doctor can wear a GoPro.
hey, again, you're right. I don't know if there's like TOS against that, but yeah, if you want to do that, that's all. But again, it is the woman's choice, which we fail to recognize in this country. It is wild that the husband's like, just do it, just keep the peace. I don't want to talk to my mom. Fuck you.
No.
Talk to your mom. I hate these posts that men are like, oh, just keep the peace. Oh, you know
I
what else I
know.
noticed on the Am I the Asshole post? Sorry guys,
Mm.
we've got me on a thing. We've got fuck motorsports. Um, there's a big trend of like someone comes over to my house. Someone then insults my cooking, my family, me,
Oh,
my
I've seen those
job.
too.
I called them out. Suddenly, I'm the asshole because I could have just let it go. Why is it the person who's being insulted is the one that has to let it go to keep the peace? Absolutely not. Again, I'm
Yeah.
here to be your sleep paralysis demon. Do not break the peace in my fucking home if you want peace. That is exactly what's not going to happen.
It's my
It's so
house.
annoying. There was one that like this, she like cooks every month for her friends. She loves it. She plans the menu. She like asked to chip in just like a little bit. Someone came in and said, "I'm not giving the money. I hated the meal. You're terrible at cooking. I don't want to do this." And she's like, "Wow, that's a little rude considering I worked really hard on it." And then everyone's like, "Whoa, whoa, why'd you call her out?" And apparently her friends are mad at her calling her out as opposed to and like in front of everyone as opposed to having a private conversation. And I was like,
Oh my
"Absolutely not.
God.
Not in my home."
Oh my God. Yeah, no. Oh no. If you're gonna say rude things, absolutely not. My husband does not get to say rude things about my cooking, and he lives here. It's his home. It's our home. Like you there are certain things where you just be a peacekeeper, but like you be a peacekeeper, the other person has to like take that step too. Both people have to be peacekeepers. You can't just be a dick because you think it's good or you think that's okay and fine and then move on with that. Absolutely not.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is piss off people who make your food. Yeah, it's I just like don't understand like where it comes from like that we have to keep the peace. It's not like I'm raging. Oh, so again, someone's mother-in-law threw a baby shower. She picked all the things the woman hated, like even food she was allergic to, whatever. And then the
I
woman,
said
and
that
then
one.
I think the mom like did something, and then she finally called her out. And then the husband's like, "I can't believe you called her out in front of everyone." And like her friends are like, "Yeah, you should have waited." No,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? I don't understand what this notion is of keeping the peace. I don't even think half these people the way they describe it too. And of course, I understand it's three sides to every story: their side, your side, and the truth. They don't seem like they're yelling. They're just like, "Hey, I don't appreciate that you said that. Hey, I can't eat this. I'm allergic, and you knew that, and you purposely did this on
Yeah.
purpose to hurt me. Keep
Yeah.
the
At
peace.
my baby shower,
Keep the
I'm
peace, Elizabeth." Just in my delivery room when I'm giving birth
yeah.
to a child, you want me to
Yeah.
also keep the peace? Absolutely fuck up.
I
Get
think
out
this
of
is
here.
crazy. I think this is a symptom of like women just generally have to keep the peace all the time, and then it hits like I'm sure there were these red flags that popped up before this point because I just
Yeah.
always wonder how you get to a point where you're having a child with someone whose mother-in-law does not respect you in the slightest, and you just were like you didn't set that boundary before. And I don't want to blame the woman in this scenario because
Yeah.
like obviously it's not your fault. But also, dang, what a chaos, crazy, insane. Like you gotta stand up for yourself sooner than when you are
With
like
child.
marriage is a legal bond, but like having a kid is a whole new level. You gotta get things squared away prior to that point. You probably should not be worrying about this while you are growing a life. That shouldn't be the case.
It's insane. Women should keep quiet and be walked all over. You say things are way better not telling someone they're cooking suck. Yeah, women are obviously like talk about this a lot too. Why people get upset when women speak out in a certain way or like show certain emotion. They were told not to like take the space and things like that.
Yeah.
So they're always like, I don't know, should I have said that I don't want my mother-in-law murdering my child? That's weird. Did I offend anyone? I'm so sorry. Let me keep the
Yeah.
peace.
I don't care.
I don't care. My mother and I have an understanding that once I am married, I will always side with my wife. That's right. Yeah.
Amen.
I think the way I've ever approached relationship, it's like we're a team, right? It's you and I
Mhm.
versus the problem, not you versus I, right? And anything
Yeah.
situation, things like that, like open communication, things like that. But yeah, these email they also post are always crazy. I hate the ones that are like, I should have kept the peace. I'm like, no, immediately you're not the asshole. I don't even care what you did. You're immediately not
Yeah.
the asshole if it was like keeping the peace. Should I have kicked this puppy? Sure, you're done. I'm done here. Like I don't even care. You should have just kept the peace. That kind of rhetoric always just angers me so much when people say that about
I
other
know.
people. Oh,
I
sorry,
know.
chat. You're gonna see my collages. All right. I guess we should get to motorsport stuff, and that's why everyone's
I
here.
suppose.
We can
I
start off with one. Am I
suppose.
the asshole? Who sent me $20 on Venmo? This seems like a scam. Maybe. I don't believe this. I'm not touching it. Okay.
That's funny.
Ahem.
Race car.
Ladies and gentlemen, race car. Now that we're done with Am I the Asshole opening post, race car. Rapid fire news. Caddy, again, officially made the announcement, I guess. That's what
Yep.
happened this week. I thought we all
Yes.
did that already, and then I realized I guess we didn't. I guess it just was told and it wasn't official.
So the what previously happened in November of last year, Cadillac received a provisional acceptance from the FIA to become an 11th team. Basically, what that means is that if they continued to conform to expectations and continue to display that they are like doing things properly to make an F1 team, then they can become one in the near future.
Got
So
it.
it was like, this is a sign that you're doing things the right way. We want to see that. I think because especially in January, they had the switch. So then Cadillac had to start conforming to the 2026 technical regulations and the cost caps and stuff to make sure that they're like within those boundaries. So now it is officially official for realsies. They've got the thumbs up, the okay. As Ben says, it is now Facebook official.
That's pretty good.
So the exciting, but we also now have the question who will be driving for Cadillac, and everyone wants to know. And I have thoughts, I have feelings. There's a Cadillac has been discussed kind of regularly that they'd like to have one American driver who merits being there, obviously, not just the token American. And then they would like to have kind of one veteran driver. So the American one I think is very interesting because Colton Herta gets picked out very quickly. And I just don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I just don't know.
I think he's the only name people know. They're throwing
Mhm.
him out there.
His name got associated with this back with Andretti. And
Yeah.
when it was Andretti Global in charge of this, oh, excuse me. When it was Andretti Global in charge of this entry, I kind of understood it because that makes sense. But at this point, there are fewer and fewer ties between Herta and Cadillac and what this entry could be. So I don't quite know. He'd have to finish fourth in the championship in IndyCar this year to get enough super license points to get to Formula One.
You
Which
said
is not
finish third, fourth, sorry?
fourth. He has to
Fourth,
finish
okay.
fourth in the championship. Yeah. Um, and so I don't know.
Oh,
I
does.
think I
Who's your
think there
American
are
driver?
who?
Who's your American driver? Who do you want?
I want Jack Crawford.
Okay, that's who I put in my notes too. Does he have the super license points though? That's what I'm Googling right now.
Um, I'm not sure, but I think he can get them. If he doesn't have them, he's close enough, kind of thing. Probably closer than Colton Herta, considering the way that we give super license points and distribute them and whatnot. So we'll see. I like him because he's had Formula One experience. He's driven a Formula One car. He's gone up the ladder. Um, he just makes sense on that front. If you're gonna do an American driver, probably him.
He definitely has 20.
Mhm.
I don't know where the other 20 are coming from. I'm just scrolling really fast, but yeah, that's true. I also want people to know, okay, this came up when when I was answering people saying drivers should boycott racing in Formula One due to the rules that MBS has put and the FIA have put forward. And I was like, great. They're just because this is not the NFL or any other sport, soccer/football, NFL, American football, etc. It is easy to find 20 other drivers who want to be in the spotlight of Formula One. And they're
Mhm.
like, that's not possible. Super license points. And I was like, you dumbasses. This was made up by the FIA. Like, they
Yeah.
couldn't take it away. Like, they couldn't adjust these rules that they do for people all the time. This is all frivolous and bullshit. Like,
Mhm.
this is all made up. They are the ones who made the rules. They're the ones who can actually get rid of super license points whenever they want. You think if 20 drivers said, no, we're boycotting, they're not going to be like, exception, Colton Herta, Alex Below, everyone get in here. F those other
Yeah.
guys. Like, no
Yeah.
way.
There's a history of this that goes back to the 80s. There was a driver strike that went on,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure you guys are familiar with this in South Africa. There was a clause in their super license agreement that basically said you are not allowed to switch teams for 3 years. So you would be locked in with a team for at least a 3-year contract. And that made a lot of drivers upset because why shouldn't they be allowed to move if they were so happy to do so? And the argument at that point was also, we'll just get other guys who qualify for this. Um, you can get close enough. You can get guys. I'm sure that there are 20 guys out there who have driven a Formula One car in the past 5 years and would be more than happy to throw away their morals and values and get behind the wheel for a chance to race in F1. So,
Yeah, we gotta step back in that example too. You think
yeah,
20 rich ass white, excuse me, it's not
no.
only white, rich ass, I want to say mofos. I was like, I'm not gonna go too far with this. Rich ass Monaco livers are gonna throw away Formula One. No, that's your first fucking mistake here.
Yeah,
Definitely not Max Verstappen. He's not doing that. He's not
no,
someone I ethically and morally look up to.
no,
So definitely not him not striking. Let's see. Let's go down the line. His teammate Liam Lawson's definitely not striking.
no, no. Liam Lawson worked too damn hard to get that seat.
George Russell's definitely not striking. Get out
Yeah,
of
no,
here. Just those
no.
three people alone.
I could see like I don't know, maybe Lewis would, but also now that he's at Ferrari, I don't know that he would. I think he would have had a
That's
better
true.
shot at it at Mercedes.
No one is
Ferrari
striking.
comes with its own,
Yeah.
yeah. No one is doing this.
No one
No
is all
one.
leaving. No one is striking. Sorry, everyone, to like ruin your fantasy
No.
of boycotts and things like that. The only people that could strike and possibly boycott is us not watching, not buying
Yeah.
tickets. But we also can't do that either because none of you can not jack off when it's race week and write that on your Twitter post.
Yeah.
Race week. Sorry, it's raw
Yeah.
week, whatever the Ferrari misspelling
Rawe
was.
Seek.
Raw we was seek. So not gonna happen. Yeah, I'm a little sassy today. All right. Next rapid fire. Fans are bullying Alain Prost because of the Senna show on Netflix. Supposedly the show. I
Which
did
is
not watch
crazy.
it. I heard
I
it
have
was
not watched
I heard it was
the
terrible.
Senna show either.
So I did not watch it. A lot of people that whose opinions I trust, all of them said the same thing about it. Therefore, I did not watch it. But I was told yesterday that he comes off as like the villain of
Yeah.
the show pretty badly.
Hey, I like Alan Prost. So I am your homie who gives a shit, Chris, about how sad a three-time world champion is. They have a tendency to, like, because there was a big rivalry between the
Sure.
two, no one who has made any content out of this has any idea of how to make a compelling narrative that does not feature a rivalry between the two of them and like a hatred between the two of them and a villain versus hero kind of narrative for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Same thing with Niki Lauda and James Hunt and
Mm-hmm.
Rush. Like those were two dudes who lived together when they were in the lower junior series. They were buddies, they were friends. They just were rivals for a period of time. Same thing with Senna and Prost. Drives me nuts.
Drives me insane.
I like Alan Prost. Chris is saying we got a badass over here.
Yeah, why do we
Uh,
not like what has he done
I
in the context of this racing thing? What has he I don't know about his personal stuff. I don't know if he's like embezzled funds or is in Jeffrey Epstein's book. I do not know about those things. So there are, yes, then we don't like him. But like in the context of the Senna show, people who
yeah.
are
I just
is wild.
he I think it's a similar thing where it's like you've got Ayrton Senna who's this magnanimous character who has this religious passionate devotion for racing, and then you've got the guy who has a more boring take on this, who's like, I'm not gonna push my boundaries beyond what they're gonna do. I want to win a race at the slowest pace possible. I want to get pole at the slowest pace possible. And people don't like that because that's not romantic. So you
Sure, but
get
he was
this,
clinical. And I think we'd say that he was like very analytical,
yeah,
very clinical, nicknamed I think was
but
the
people,
professor on
that's
Joker.
not fun. You know what I mean? Like
I think it's fun.
that's not the
I also wear
romantic
glasses.
ideal of what race car driver is.
Yeah. They were also friends. I don't know if people knew
Yeah,
this. Sure, they had
yeah,
their rivalry, but like one, if you're bullying a 70-year-old on social
yeah. What
media
the fuck?
who probably doesn't run his own social media because he doesn't know how it works, you're dumb. And second of all, if
Yeah,
you actually don't know, they were pretty close and really friendly and chummy, and was the one who kept advocating for safety regulations after the Senna incident on behalf of Ayrton and like working with the family and things like that in Formula
yeah,
One, blah blah blah. Like you guys are just dumb. Like you making fun of this man because of a Netflix show is wild. And like learn how to use Google.
yeah. Exactly. Use critical thinking skills. It highlights the importance of narrative spins and angles, which we will talk about in a little bit with Drive to Survive.
Elizabeth has
'Cause
thoughts.
I have some thoughts on that whole debacle. Don't be mean to Alan Prost. I think he's a sweet little old man. Uh, and that's what I have to say about the matter.
Yeah. Honda interested in supplying power units to multiple F1 teams if the opportunity arises. Do you have any thoughts on that? I thought as a headline, and I was like, great.
I think that's interesting. Honda, when I spoke to Honda, I have a whole actual like a Substack that I've been working on about this, about how this scoop kind of came to be, where Honda, I was talking to Koji Watanabe, who HRC head, and he was saying that Honda's struggling with their power units for 2026. So I wrote that story. And then like for some reason, they like talked to people, asked Christian Horner, "Oh, is this true?" And Christian Horner was like, "It's just lost in translation." And so everyone just kind of discounted that this was a thing. And then it got brought back up again in this case, where Honda is saying that they would like to become suppliers for more teams. Aston Martin is going to be its works team in F1 in 2026. Maybe they will have others in the future. I would like that. We have so many options in 2026 that they'll have to have a really, really good power unit to actually entice anyone to work with them.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have Honda, Ford, Audi, oh my God, Ferrari, Mercedes. We're gonna have Cadillac in a few years. Like we're getting quite a few, so they're gonna need to really show their stuff.
We also had this past weekend the Race of Champions, which was in Australia, so I didn't get to watch it live, but I saw all the aforementioned stuff. The first day is the country on country battle. You have two people from each representative country there racing against each other, and then aforementioned country wins. And then it was the individuals round the next day. And guess who won? Both of them. I don't know how to say his name, and it's always very embarrassing. Do you know how to say his name?
Sebastian Loeb.
Oh, is it just Loeb?
Yeah,
I feel like it's
I
more
think
French
so.
than that. I always want to be like
It might
Loeb.
be, but I'm too American to say it the French way.
I definitely, and also he spells his name Sebastian with like E's in the vowels. So I always want
Yeah.
to say it really fancily, and then I embarrass myself. But yeah, Sebastian Loeb, who is a goat. He's 51, 50, and every time he wins, he does backflips, which is great because I, one, can't get that
Same.
height, and two, do that. So it's very
He's got
impressive.
that vert.
He's definitely got vert. He can definitely do the NFL Combine pretty well. Yeah, no, it was great. And funny enough, I made a tweet that was like blah 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 Verstappen, blah 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 Larson. We should be talking about Sebastian Loeb in that conversation. Kyle Larson fans did not like that. No Max Verstappen fans. They were just like, okay, cool. They were like, whatever. Every single Kyle Larson fan found that
so
tweet and
funny.
was like, how dare you disrespect Kyle like that? I was like, I didn't disrespect him. I was just saying we should include Loeb in the conversation when we talk about.
Exactly.
Was he a
Greatest of all time.
9-time World Rally champion? Then he got so bored of winning, he's like, all right, I'm doing something else.
Yeah.
This man's like, see you later.
He's great. Race of Champions is also a lot of fun. When they had it in Miami, I went with a bunch of friends and we had a fucking blast.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, very like low key, very chill. Just like legit just a blast. So if it ever comes around to wherever you are in this universe, I highly recommend making a point of going and checking it out.
I don't know where it's going to be next. I'm sure they've announced it. It was in Australia, so it was a little tough for some people to watch
Yeah.
and whatnot. But yeah, I'll see where it is next year. It was fun. They also had for representing the United States of America was Travis Pastrana and Kurt Busch. I did not
I
know
didn't hear
that.
anything about
I
this
heard
too.
nothing about it, which is weird because Travis Pastrana has some kind of like, he's pretty well regarded in the motorsport community, like in our niche. People know who he is. So I'm surprised like no one talked about it. The Kurt Busch thing I wasn't surprised about because I know he got a DUI in September and he got his regular license taken away. And he's still
Australia, no rules.
There's still stuff going on there. So maybe NASCAR didn't want to like advertise that or like I don't know, talk about it. But like I've heard nothing till I was watching the highlights and I was like, oh, Travis and Kurt are there.
That's crazy.
I know Sebastian Vettel's there. I know Mick Schumacher's there. I've been seeing those photos and everything like that. And I was like, oh great. But I was like, oh, America's being represented? I heard nothing about that.
Wow. What a pleasant surprise.
I wonder why that is. Oh wait, I'm gonna put this bullet point last. But yeah, I don't know where it is next year. Tune in if you can.
Hmm.
We also had NASCAR this weekend. It was at Phoenix. That's right. They go to Phoenix
Yes.
twice, one for the championship, the final four, and now
Yeah.
Christopher Bell won, which makes it three in a row,
First
which is
three in a row, which is impressive.
the first time someone's done that since 2021, which is Kyle Larson. But the first time someone with three opening races in like that time frame was Kevin Harvick, 2018.
Hmm. I was not paying a ton of attention to this race because I was working and also sick. So trying to have my eyes on multiple things at once was not going to happen. But the parts of the race that I did see, I really enjoyed. Catherine Legg had her Cup Series debut, which didn't go necessarily great. But I think she's pretty limited with what she can do as far as testing goes because there is no substantial practice for the Cup Series during a weekend. And if you want to get extra Cup Series practice, you have to request a waiver for that 2 weeks in advance. And this deal came together as like, I think 10 days before
Yeah. So
Phoenix.
Bob said
So
too.
there was no option for that to happen. But exciting to see her. She's the first woman to do this in years. Exciting to see her like getting out there and doing a bunch of crazy things. She's signed up for Pikes Peak this year again. Like girls doing everything. Freaking legend. We also had multiple tire compounds, which I think added to the interest and the complexity of the race. I'm glad that we have that going on.
You wrote Phoenix Not Suck. Can
Yeah.
I don't know if people are tired of us talking about this, but yet again, the broadcast has disappointed me.
Yeah. I again I wasn't paying as much attention to the broadcast this weekend as I usually would have. But there were again multiple times where I was like in the middle of a post and then someone would say something and I was like, "Oh, gross. I don't want, I'm glad I'm not listening."
Okay, so here's the issue. My SO and I are both sitting on the couch. For those of you who don't know, dinks, dual income, no kids, two TVs. Pretty nice.
Living the dream.
Living the dream. I'm watching NASCAR. Originally, I had NASCAR and the HBO cameras in, but then I didn't want to be greedy with the TVs, so I let him watch his little hockey game. Capitals, Tom Ovechkin breaking the record. Whatever, dude. Who cares? Wayne Gretzky's better. No, I'm just kidding. He sucks too. Anyway, so Capitals are playing, and I'm listening again to yet the hockey broadcast, and then this NASCAR broadcast. Like we would mute depending on the TVs or like what was going on and what. And I'd be like, he's like, yeah, these guys aren't really enthusiastic watching this NASCAR. He's like, they sound so bored comparatively to this like hockey match. He's like, they don't sound like they want to be there. He's like, they also have really awkward chemistry. He's like, I notice they keep either overstepping each other, or like no one's like laughing or like building up on anyone's points after the fact. He's just like, this is not making me want to watch this race for 3 hours. He's like, I can probably stand this for a couple of laps, but he's like, otherwise, I still don't know what's going on. He's like, I don't know what like the groove is or the run is. And he's like, they keep saying these words, and he's like, I don't know what this means. Therefore, I have now tuned out, and I do not care about this race.
Yeah. And Mike Joy at the end, twice saying this is the closest finish in Phoenix history and then being wrong about that, um, was very embarrassing. They don't work together well, and I don't understand how Fox has not done anything about this, but I guess at this point, what are you supposed to do about any of that at this point?
Yeah, the
Other than
final
maybe for
lap
next year?
was wild. The final two laps was wild, and they were calling it. And if they
Yeah.
were like stepping over each other. Like
Hmm.
someone was trying to call it. I think Mike Joy was trying to call it, but so and so, like whoever the other guy, Clint, was interrupting him because he seems like like genuinely excited to watch. But again, it's like
Yeah.
again, I'm watching a guy at a bar narrate what he's going on in his head. Just let Mike
Yeah.
Joy talk. Like what is?
Yeah.
It was like a weird interruption, and then they called a yellow flag, and I guess he was so used to calling yellow flags at the last lap that he accidentally called it. He's like, "No, never mind, we're staying green," and I was like, "What just
It was a
happened?"
what? Yeah, it was the white flag came out, and he was like, "Oh, yellow," and it was a white
Yeah.
flag, and I was like, "Jesus
He's like,
Christ!"
"Oh, we're still going." I was like, "What happened?" And then as soon as he said that, they didn't show the cars. They like panned to a weird scene of like, we had no idea what was happening, but we weren't watching the lead cars fighting, and I was just like, "What is happening right now?" I'm trying to watch one of these closest finishes,
Yeah,
and I don't. We're not looking at it. Like, what are we doing?
I know. Honestly, leaves so much to be desired, but that is that is what it is.
To be fair, Joby is one of the best in the biz. Yeah, I agree. Tommy says that's why I watch NASCAR in Polish. They're so much more into it than the Americans for some reason. Yeah, I feel like I'm watching
Interesting.
golf sometimes when I'm watching this NASCAR broadcast. I'm just like, what is this
I
played
feel
by?
I feel like golf honestly would be more interesting because it's I don't know what the hell's going on with this. I don't know. It's frustrating.
He was surprised by the lack of race manipulation. That's so funny.
But
Surprise. Points cut off though currently. Ooh, Chastain is minus 77 to Byron. Suarez minus 33 behind Chastain. Oh, we got a lot of minuses. Oh, when did we talk about Ty Gibbs? What's going on there?
Ty Gibbs, I don't know. He's just not on it right now. Just doing bad.
He's doing terribly compared to all the other
Yeah.
Gibbs cars.
Yeah. I don't know what happened with him. He really struggled this year.
Yeah, he should probably get a new sponsor because he does not get you. He is not helping. It's terrible. He's way behind on his teammates.
Yeah.
More like tired Gibbs, am I right? He can't finish above the 30th for 7 races.
Yeah. Like that's not good. That's just he's on a tough one and it doesn't seem like it's getting any better, but maybe
No,
we'll
no, no.
see.
Joey Logano is on a bad losing streak, okay? Ty
Yeah.
Gibbs is completely behind far
Yeah.
more than a bad losing streak. What Joey Logano has gone in the top 10 in like X number of races, and like that's weird. Like Ty Gibbs should be up there with his teammates, and not in P30 dicking around.
Yeah. It's a mess.
I'm here for the Ty Gibbs hate. Yeah, well, that's in general. I also think, isn't he, gosh, correct me if I'm wrong. I read somewhere that the plan for him is to eventually take over the business, right? Is the plan to like race and take
I
over the
believe so.
business or just do the business side? Because he might just be racing to like gain the experience and be like, oh, I've done this. I know what the business needs.
I think it's just to do the business side.
Yeah. So I might be,
I don't know what he's gonna get doing both.
well, I guess we'll find out together on this next
Yeah.
episode. This weekend we have a lot of racing. Of course,
Jesus.
one of them, the 12 hours of Sebring. So the awkward part is, St. Patrick's Day is on Monday. So at least in Charlotte, North Carolina, all the bar crawls are happening on Saturday. So I'm trying to figure out how to watch 12 hours, bar crawl, come back and watch the last 12 hours. But then we also have Formula One at 1 a.m. Sunday, which is you stay up Saturday, you watch 1 a.m. No, sorry, midnight, which is Sunday. And we also have NASCAR in Las Vegas on Sunday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. So there's a lot of racing happening.
Yeah. Jeez.
Wait, let me tell you the
I don't know
schedule.
how I don't know how I'm gonna pull this off.
So fun fact, it's not only, of course, when we say Formula One, IMSA, NASCAR, it's not only
The
Formula
big
One,
three.
WeatherTech, Cup Series. Formula One has obviously Formula One, Formula Two, Formula Three, right? And I believe IMSA also has not only the WeatherTech, also has Pilot Challenge, and then Porsche Carrera Cup is joining them, and Lamborghini Super Trofeo and the Mustang Challenge will also be joining them that weekend. So that's something you are interested in watching. We have the NASCAR Cup Series, we have the Xfinity Series, and we have the Craftsman Truck Series that is also happening as well. But there's also a lot of racing happening. Around the world, we have the Supercars Championship, we have MotoGP, Moto2, Moto3, and Argentina. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. GT4, Barcelona, 6 hours of Barcelona. Oh, I didn't know that. GT Winter Series. TCR Spain as well at the same time, at the same track, same series. All right, there's a lot of racing. So if you're into it, just let us know. We'll tell you where to watch it. It's so funny.
Did you know? I'm stay tuned on Planet F1 because I'm gonna write a story about this. Did you know that Cadillac is the reason that that Sebring exists?
Oh no, I didn't know that. That's so cool.
hmm The Alec Ullman who founded the Sebring track went to the 24 Hours of Le Mans with Briggs Cunningham and Cadillac with their crazy Le Monstre, like prototype nonsense. And he was like, this is cool. How can we do this in the United States? And ended up at a gross little airfield. And here we are ever since. You can blame Cadillac for that bad boy.
Here, I thought it was Queen Elizabeth attending F1 in Sebring. That's what I thought it was. Oh, that's cool. What a fun fact. Oh, I did know it was an airfield. All the best racetracks are. I did know it was an airfield, but
You
it
win
does have
some,
a
you
lot of
lose
history.
some.
Really quickly before we get to our Australian preview, I had to watch Drive to Survive for the first time since it came out. So I've only watched the first season of Drive to Survive, never watched it again. And Elizabeth's like, I'm watching this now. Send me some comments, and I was like, And I guess I gotta watch it if we gotta talk about it. So I made it to through 2 episodes for
That's
you.
so funny.
And I feel like that's enough.
So, yeah, my recommendation for you is episode 7 this season. I really
Oh,
liked.
interesting. Okay.
Episode 7 is the Singapore focused one. And episode 7, they gave 5 drivers their own little like smartphone and were like, do a vlog for the weekend. So the drivers have it's Pierre Gasly, Lando Norris, George Russell, Alex Albon, and Charles Leclerc, I believe. And they all like follow their weekend and like do little chats. And here's us waking up at 3 p.m. because it's a crazy weekend and the timing is weird. I really enjoyed that one because it gave, I think, a more authentic version of what the Formula One driver lifestyle is. There
Okay.
was some funny bits where like Alex Albon and George Russell apparently always fly commercial together. And it was like nice to learn that those, I don't know, for some reason those two
And you
hang
said
out all the
episode 7?
time. Yeah.
Okay, I wrote that down.
And they spend time together, they travel together, and then like you've got Lando who used to be there with them, but then he started flying private because he's, got big. I thought that one was like actually, as someone who follows Formula One, that was probably the most enlightening episode of the bunch. Otherwise, hmm, it is certainly just propaganda. Uh, like
Yeah.
it is full on. I understand that I'm not the target audience for
Right.
this,
We are not.
but also there's such a blatant manipulation of facts in order to tell a story
Yeah.
that like it really is upsetting me. And the one I can't remember exactly which episode number. I'm sure I've got it
I
written
heard
down
more
in my
so than
notes.
previous years. Like they do that, but this year was
Yes.
particularly bad. Like they keep upping the ante on like what they can get
Yes.
away with cutting things from different whatever. Mania
What
on
was
board. I don't know if
he?
you guys follow them. Posted some things like the Daniel Ricciardo thing. His
Hmm.
storyline was like cut by like 4 different races to put in.
Yeah.
The Max Verstappen in Miami. They put his like resting bitch face from Zandvoort
Yeah.
in there, stuff like that.
Yeah, they made it seem like Max and Lando hated each other or like they cut in audio after
Yeah.
Miami to make it sound like Max was mad, even though the two of them, I believe, went out partying together. Episode 3. Episode 3 pissed me off.
Oh, I didn't even watch that. Sorry. What was it about?
So this was the episode that was like, someone needs to step into Lewis Hamilton's shoes. We need to find a new driver. And so it was like maybe Mercedes will sign Carlos, or maybe Mercedes will sign Fernando Alonso, or maybe George Russell will step up and become the lead driver. Well, the way that they framed it was very strange because in the first instance in Silverstone, they framed this whole episode as if George Russell had a personal failure. And it wasn't George Russell's fault that he retired from Silverstone. It was mechanical issues. But the whole framing of this episode was, oh, George specifically dropped the ball on this specific race where we were really hoping and hinging on him, proving that he can step up, which I was like, well, that wasn't what happened because it
Yeah.
wasn't George's fault that the car was broken. He was struggling with this for a while. He was being passed because of this, not because of his own mental failings, which is kind of what they posted as. And then they go to Spa, and it's this big triumphant win. And they don't ever talk about his disqualification.
Yeah.
And then they just like cut to Kimi Antonelli is like, we're going to talk about Kimi Antonelli as the next big thing. And I was like, well, I guess like they've made their point about George Russell being good enough. And I guess it would be too difficult to communicate to an audience what happened with that disqualification and why it was still a good thing for George. And I was like, I just don't understand. I don't like it. Not interested.
Yeah.
The way that Toto Wolff talks about Kimi Antonelli makes me very uncomfortable. For
Is he still
he's
praising
just-
him like God? Like even the Netflix show? Ugh.
Yeah. There's like a scene where Kimmy is racing GT cars and Toto is there and he's like denying calls from Mohammed Ben Sulayem, and he's like, I'd rather be here. I'd rather be watching Kimmy on the track. And I was like, this is just weird. I don't like any of this. That was one of the episodes that I think really stuck out to me as a blatant Formula One propaganda, which is, of course, that's exactly what this whole series is supposed to be. But the Horner scandal got its own episode, episode one. They talk about
Yeah.
the allegations against him from a female coworker who that were like he was coercive and inappropriate behavior. But they don't ever like talk about the specific concerns of that. And at the end of that episode, it's like wrapped up in a bow and solved. And we never learn anything about it. We never touch on it again later in the series. It's just like, I don't know, brought up, solved. And then we go back to following Christian Horner and Jerry Halliwell in their wonderful, beautiful British life. And I don't know. It very weird. I understand there's limited truth that they can get to on
Sure.
that one, because there is, I mean, I think a lot of folks have seen the discussion that there are still lawsuits ongoing that certain media have been told not to talk about. Um, so that is still this is an ongoing thing even today. But I just was like, it was very frustrating. A lot of weird, um, almost every episode started out with if if a team principal had a wife, the wife was like interviewing him about like how do you feel about this season? So they had this with Toto and Susie, they had it with James Fowles and his wife. They had it with Christian and Jerry. And then Zach Brown, I don't know what the hell Zach Brown's just like his buddies
Yeah.
will interview him. And then some of the drivers, like their spouse or their significant others weren't really part of it. But there was like a friend who would step in. So in the Charles Leclerc episode, it's a big group of his buddies um, talking about stuff together. And then in the Lando Norris episodes, it's Max Futrell, however you pronounce his last name, his friend that he
Yeah.
hangs out with all the time. It's very, I mean, it was fun. I was, sick. So an
Yep.
interesting watch.
Something to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a reason to lay on the couch and binge watch this for 2 days. It was just very, every year I watch this and I get more and more disappointed, I think, because there becomes more and more that gets left out or that gets cut out. I mean, the Checo episode that discussed kind of him, I don't know, his failures with Red Bull. It didn't really like, they didn't talk to Checo a ton, so there was never any context around that. And they were just, it didn't touch on things, situated things in the incorrect ways. I don't know. I just didn't like it. Um, I liked episode 7. I thought that was fun just because the drivers kind of got more of a say. I did enjoy the Charles Leclerc Monaco episode.
Hmm.
I think they did a good job with that because that was a very clear-cut story
Yeah.
that was kind of handed to them in a package. Um, Charles Leclerc playing his little piano and like playing with his dog Leo. Very cute, very lovely. Getting his card declined at the grocery store, picking up supplies to take it out on his yacht. Very funny. But I don't know. I'm just I don't know. I really enjoyed the first couple seasons
Yeah.
where the big teams didn't participate and it was forcing the producers specifically to find interesting, compelling storylines out of the back of the grid, which necessitated a certain amount of creativity, but it feels like they took that creativity into a very manipulative direction that when you're talking about the championship battle specifically makes it very uncomfortable. I just it's too much.
The first two episodes, me and my significant other both thought they were a little bit boring.
Yeah.
It seemed
So
like a
here's
montage. Like they were just like cutting things. Like there was like no
yeah.
actual like story. They were just I don't know. It was
Yes.
just like the Christian Horner thing. They like talked about and then like you said wrapped it up with a bow. Like the last. It was essentially what they did is they blacked out the screen and wrote like the words. Like oh how they do in movies sometimes. Like oh 20
Yeah.
years later. So they're like oh like the independent investigation cleared him. Internal
And
investigation
that was
cleared
it.
him. And that was it. And I
Yeah.
was like oh not about the civil suit. I was like
Yeah.
we're not gonna bring this up.
Yeah. It
But even like that episode was so weird because they like mentioned it and then they stopped talking about it. I was like, oh, is that how we're only going to bring it up? And then we started talking about Formula
yeah.
One a little bit, and even that was weird and sporadic. And then we went back to the Horner thing, and I was like, oh no, we're back on this. I was like, oh my god, what are we doing?
Yeah. So I there's a very good TikTok from a creator named Juliana who discussed this and basically was like the problem is that they're trying to do a narrative within like they're trying to do these weird narratives in an episode which then necessitates a ton of filler because they're trying to tell a story that didn't have a neat I don't know that didn't have a neat progression and that they may not have like taken the good clips of or
Hmm.
whatever the case might have been. So you end up with these stories and these episodes where there's a ton of filler and there's a ton of backstory or like talking head stuff, or they have 5 minutes of the talking heads sitting down and being sassy. Because they're trying to pull little bits out of an entire season and put them together in a cohesive way without acknowledging that there are gaps in between or further complexities that they haven't addressed. So you just end up with these episodes that are like, yeah, that was fine. Um, I the first two, you're definitely right. It was just like a lot of filler. A lot of the other episodes, even the George Russell one, there was time for them to address the disqualification because they spent so long at the end just like talking up Kimmy Antonelli,
Hmm.
where I was like, well, I don't know. It there too much filler, too much nonsense. There's always some standouts each season. Episode 7 was one. The Charles Leclerc episode was another,
Hmm.
with his Monaco win. Even that, even though Charles Leclerc one I didn't think they went enough into, it was like it was touching because,
Yeah.
it talks about him losing his father and telling his dad that he got signed to a Formula One team when he hadn't, so that his dad would have been happy and like could let go essentially. Like that was very sweet,
Yeah.
but it was also like there you could have gone a little more into that relationship, um, and what that meant. So just another frustrating season. I recommend everyone in the production crew take a creative writing class.
I feel like they're just banking on that it's Formula One. I'd be
Yeah.
interested to see the results of viewership, considering that I went on just now as well. But when I was watching on Sunday, it was only
Hmm.
10th. So Netflix shows you top 10 shows in the United States on Netflix. I don't know if it shows that for other countries, but if you're in a different country besides the United States of America, I'd like to know what your top 10 show is if you have access to Netflix and are able to see that. Because on Sunday, it was 10th, which is weird because
Yeah.
it debuted on Friday morning in the United States, I believe.
Yeah.
So usually when it does that, it's number one because a lot of things debuted at the same time on Netflix, and they're number one. Like the Kate Hudson show that she's running a basketball team. I mean, obviously Netflix has the rights to WWE, and that was
Yeah.
yesterday, so that's number
Yeah.
one. But a lot of other shows debuted stuff, and they're number one. Drive to
Hmm.
Survive is stuck on 10th. On Monday at 3:39 p.m. it was ninth, but just now I checked on it is March 11th to nearly noon, and it's back down to 10th. So it's
Yeah.
not doing well in the United States
Yeah.
as well
It
as
was
it usually
most
does. So I'd be very interested to see what the views are. Do people watch it later? Do people watch it when like there's an F1 break? I'd be interested to see like
yeah.
where how it keeps going. Is it because it's so close to the first race, or like what's the point if I watch
But
the
they
last season?
usually do this. And I think that's because if you think back to last year, the first race of the F1 season last year was like, I think it was like March 2nd or something. Like they started free practice in February. So they had to have it earlier so that the debut was earlier. So then, I don't know. Maybe that had something to do with it with the timing of the season beginning. maybe people just don't care. Um, as Chap says, the best part is NASCAR full speed drops in April, but when it dropped last time, it was able to ride on the DTS wave because at the end of the Drive to Survive season, it would pop up, you might also like NASCAR full speed. So you could just go and watch that. Now, because that show is going to debut in April, and it's dropping within a couple months of the NASCAR season already starting. I don't know how that's going to impact the viewership
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. So I don't know. I was left underwhelmed.
But I
I
feel
think
like
every year I get,
NASCAR was more personal, like really introducing the
hmm
drivers. So like that seemed okay. I don't know what they'll do for
yeah.
this season. Like what if they have storylines like Drive to Survive, or if there's gonna be like three other drivers they're gonna follow around. Because it was really like Byron Chastain.
hmm
Was a little bit of Bell, a little bit of Denny Hamlin, but I wonder if they'll like follow drivers and like go there. Karen says Canada has it at fourth right now.
Mm,
Not too bad, a little better than the United States. Again, I'm just surprised
yeah.
it's not like podium. But also, I'm just surprised it's not top three or like number one. Mommy Jones, if anyone listens to him in the United States, great sports analyst, pop culture commentator, things like that. He talked about a couple years ago that at least over 50% in the United States, of course, that's the only statistics we have, watch sports highlights to instead of watching the full games. And this is American sports, not motorsports. People watch highlights instead of full games now. So a lot of people want to Drive to Survive and don't watch Formula One. I think that's the majority, honestly, of
Yeah.
their viewership. It'd be interesting to see if they fight for the rights to get F1. So go from there.
Yeah.
Canada isn't
Eh,
real. Okay, tell that to Karen, who's clearly from Canada. Okay, you go fight that champ. Oh wait, champ's also Canadian, but he lives in Texas now,
yeah.
so he might have been brainwashed by who's your
Big
governor,
Texas.
senator.
Don't talk about Greg yet.
He might have been brainwashed by Greg Abbott. Um,
I think he's personally offended by that, but he's furiously typing right now,
he's like, how
defending
dare you?
himself.
It's so funny. I'm
Anyway, it
brainwashed
was
by the way
a
Canada likes F1 more than America. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, anyway, Try to Survive. It is what it is. I know it's not for people to
yeah,
do. It's a reality TV show. It's not a documentary. I don't think they market it
yeah.
as such. So we have our qualms. I'm only going to watch two episodes. Actually, I'll watch episode 7 that you mentioned because that was really nice.
Yeah.
But
I
otherwise,
thought it was fun.
I'm going to keep binge watching Daredevil and go from there.
Do what you gotta do.
Um,
But it did work out well because we have Formula One this weekend. We
woo!
are starting the season off in Australia. Oh, baby, it's time.
It is time. It's going to be supposedly rainy, which I'm kind of excited for. One of many things I'm excited
Yeah,
for.
80% chance of rainfall on Sunday. Practice and qualifying, I believe, isn't looking rainy. There's concerns that perhaps the lights, they'll need more lighting to go on if
Oh, interesting.
there's delays with rain. I don't know what the situation is going to be, but I am excited. I like Australia as a season opener.
So do I.
Um, it's a fun track.
Yeah.
It feels, I don't know. I don't want to say like that's where it's meant to be because I did a story the other day where I looked at all of the previous venues that had opened a Formula One season, and Albert Park is very, very contemporary, obviously. So I think it's mostly just like the fact that I got into F1 when I did. It was almost always the season opener. That now I'm like, that's the season opener. Just feels like where it's meant to be. Uh, but I'm excited. We have several big storylines heading into the weekend. Clearly, Lewis Hamilton going to Ferrari is the big one. I think all eyes are going to be on him this weekend. I'm sure there's going to be 900 think pieces published on Monday about how his performance
Classic.
signals what he's going to do the rest of the season. Um, we've also got some questions about Red Bull. Are they back? Are they good? Uh, I've seen a lot of rumors that Red Bull were sandbagging in preseason testing and that they have certain little features and whatnot on their car that hint at them being much quicker than they're supposed to be or that they appeared to be. So that'll be interesting. Will McLaren continue into this season as strong as they were last year? They looked good in preseason testing, but again, that's testing. They have allegedly a very more radical design of their car compared to last year, which could either that could go either way. You never know. We also have six rookies slash newish drivers, six drivers who have not contested a full Formula One season. This is the next generation of Formula One. This, which I think is an interesting thing. We're being introduced to them kind of quickly. There's a lot of bullshit concerns, in my opinion, that it's like, oh, it's going to be a crash fest.
Oh yeah, people are completely going overboard with this rookie
Like
situation.
maybe if it rains, I guess, but that's just like we saw
That's the grid
veterans
in
do that
general.
last year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just the grid in
Um,
general.
I think it's important to note like most of these drivers have either three of them have a Grand Prix, at least one under
Yeah.
their belt, and Oliver Bearman, Jack Doohan, and Liam Lawson. The others all have plenty of testing. They, it's not like this is their first time behind the wheel, so I don't know. I think the big thing should be like, how are they gonna last? I think that's the big question because there's already concerns
Yeah.
about particularly Jack Doohan at Alpine. Flavio Briatore has oh God, he was also a highlight of Drive to Survive for me, by the way. He was very funny,
I
very
hate that he's there.
character driven.
I hate
Yeah.
that he exists.
But he at least had things to say that like made me laugh
No,
in
don't give him
Drive to
that kind of
Survive.
don't say nice things about him. For everyone
Ah,
to just a level set here. Not only did he do the whole Crashgate thing, by the way, when PK spoke out against it, he also then sued him for defamation to be
mm-hmm,
like to like get him to
mm-hmm,
shut the f up, even though he was completely right. And then after he was
mm.
kicked out of Formula One, I think he went to jail for like embezzlement or laundering or fraud.
Did something.
He did something. He's also supposedly, allegedly, to not get sued, is actually in Jeffrey Epstein's little black book.
Mm-hmm.
So I like this is not a good person. Like this is by
No.
all standards of Formula One, knowing the shit people that we have in that paddock. By all those standards, he is definitely at the top of shitty people.
Yes.
And I am very confused.
Yes.
And he treats people terribly, as we've seen probably, as you saw in Drive to Survive. And so I've read on Twitter and things like
Yeah.
that. This is not a good person.
No. And he's already implying that Jack Doohan will be dropped possibly within the first five races of the season, uh, in favor perhaps Colapinto. So
Yeah,
it'll
but
be
that's his
interesting to
fault.
see. Yeah,
I'm
that
gonna
is
be
his
honest.
fault. Um, will be interesting to kind of see how that all plays out amongst the drivers because I mean, I don't know what I don't follow Formula 2 very religiously. And so I'm not sure how these guys like I don't know their racecraft quite yet, so it'll be interesting to see how they integrate into the Formula 1 grid, especially if there's like we have more teams coming in the near future. We have an 11th team coming in. We have so many teams have so many drivers in their kind of backlog of like the junior program. Are they going to be happy with someone like Gabriel Bortoleto if he isn't instantly a star? So I think there's going to be a lot to watch on that front.
So for the rookies, I definitely went back and watched what I
Mhm.
could and Googled and researched what I could. I if Oliver Bearman was in a better car, I would put him
Uh-huh.
above Kimmy and
I would as
Gabrielle
well.
Bortoleto.
Yeah.
But Kimmy, Antonelli Bortoleto, and Bearman are my three top rookies.
Hmm.
Fernando Alonso's gonna be upset at all of these rookies. I just want everyone to know that is like one of my bingo cards if he says some shit on the radio, because Bortoleto definitely has an aggressive driving style.
Hmm.
Isaac Hajar is emotional when he drives, especially on the radio and posts and stuff like that, and people are talking a little bit about that. When I mentioned earlier, Jack Doohan fucked it for himself. It's because he did terribly in Abu Dhabi, and he has like 1,400 kilometers of testing experience on that track,
Yeah.
and that man did terribly.
Yeah.
So he set himself up for a very progressive downfall there. And
Yeah.
he's had like a meh driving, just not good. It's just one of those tragic stories, and not tragic as in like I'm talking about like a hero's journey. Like you want to root for a good guy, and just like it's
Yeah.
been trial and tribulation, and just he had an incident in Monaco. He had to get his head back in the game.
Yeah.
British F4 was meh, lost by 1 point to his teammate. It was just rough after that crash, like I mentioned before, and it's just like, it's like a constant slug to get up there. Behrman's pretty good and consistent.
Yeah.
He's had a lot of top spots here. Gabriel Bortoleto, 28 races, 16 top fives, 4 races. He was below 10th. That's because 2 incidents were not his fault. So only 2 times it was his fault that he was below 10th place in a race, which is actually pretty good out of 28.
Yeah.
So I'm just surprised by these rookies. Kimi Antonelli, I think I realized what Total Wolf keeps constantly talking about him. It's because he's consistent where he is. He races
Yeah.
clean. We'll bring it home, and
Have
hopefully
you
it's clinical.
seen
But we'll see from
have you
there.
seen that video of I can't remember exactly who it is talking to him, but it's like one of the junior teams, and Kimi Antonelli's co like teammate is asks him, "What did you do in the qualifying in like this race
Hmm.
2 years ago?" And he's off the top of his head has the exact number of the time that he did.
Yeah.
And they pull it up and fact check it, and they're like, "All right, how about FP2 in this track 2 years ago?" Man, like
He
he's
knows.
got the numbers, so he's a very analytical, data heavy driver. I think
Wow. Would we
Gabriel
say he's like
Bortoleto
Prost?
maybe could be. We'll see. I don't
Yeah,
know
I
enough
like that.
about him. Like,
Well, it seems
um,
like he's very technical and just clinical in
yeah,
his things. It doesn't seem like he's driving. He doesn't drive quote unquote aggressively or emotionally compared to these other
mhm,
rookies that I've seen notes from. Right? Again, just
yeah,
stays clean, clinically passing. He's not trying to like stick his nose in places and like fuck them up mentally. He's just like, I'm
yeah.
doing what I got to do. So Bortoletto will be interesting to see if he gets up there. It's just that Kimi does have a really good car, so
Mhm.
he's gonna get.
He has a good car, but also I don't know. Mercedes, I think, is one of the interesting prospects for me this year, just to see what they do because I think George is a good driver, but I don't know that George is a team leader. So I'm
Agreed.
interested to see how he steps into that role this year, if he's able to do so, and how that will impact car development and how that will impact how Kimi
Excuse
Antonelli
me.
performs
Hmm.
kind of within all of that. So I don't know. There's a lot of very interesting storylines kind of coming into this season that I am looking forward to, that I think will be interesting. I hope something pays off so that we can see fun things and not boring things.
Yeah, I would be remiss if Mercedes doesn't do really well. So
Yeah.
I rewatched Australia last year. It's going to be at least 10 degrees cooler, if not more, with the rain,
Mhm.
which Mercedes is really good at in cool weather. The testing conditions were unseasonably cool as well. So I think Mercedes has a lot of info and data there. And did they do the most allowed laps? Who was that during preseason testing? I know Red Bull
Mercedes.
did the least amount of laps. Mercedes covered the most miles, I should say, which is a good
Yeah.
sign. But they're again good in the cold, should be fine. Qualifying should be fine. The race should be interesting. Red Bull did the least amount of laps, and that's like what Elizabeth's saying, like TBD on like
Yeah.
what's gonna happen here? Can they
Yeah.
be consistent? Um, Adrian Newey, I know he's gone, and I know a lot of people have been switched over. So it's not just Newey; it's just the whole crew. If everyone's okay with what's going on, a little bit of a break. Um, yeah, I mean, Red Bull struggling would be like seeing Apple make a really bad iPhone, which is like just doesn't happen. You know, like they always have the same phone. It's just reliable. It's good. I can give it to my mom, and she understands what's happening. It just is what it is. It is Red Bull, and it is just gonna be how it is. So,
Ted Kravitz actually said something interesting,
what do you say?
which I don't usually give him credit for, but in this case, I think he did, about there are so many new teammate pairings coming into this year that Red Bull has an advantage, if only because they have a clear first driver.
Yeah.
Every other front running team
Oh,
is going to have a battle between,
we were
we're going
talking
to have a
about
couple
that. Yeah.
races where you've got like, will Kimi Antonelli or George Russell take precedence? Will Lando Norris or Oscar Piastri take precedence? Will Charles Leclerc or Lewis Hamilton take precedence? But at Red Bull, you know for a fact, Liam Lawson is just there to support Max Verstappen. If he does that, remains to be seen. His pers his parts in Drive to Survive are very. The kid gives off rancid vibes. I'm not gonna lie.
Which is
So
so
I'm interested.
unfortunate.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how that plays out within.
He's also young
the
and a
team
kid in
front.
Formula One. Like, it also makes sense
He
that he would
is,
give off like a frat boy vibe.
yeah, he seemed very like frustrated, very if things weren't exactly his way, he was mad kind of guy. Reminded me a lot of my brother when my brother was younger and he'd play video games and then he'd get mad at his video games and he'd throw his controller
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
because he couldn't do anything right. And it was like, well, if you just like chilled out for a second, you would see that this is a very simple whatever. It was a we'll see if Lawson is happy to be that second driver, if he'll play that role. But I do think that there is a certain amount of advantage there, just knowing like we have a guy, we have Max, he's the reigning champion, and you know, he's our number one. Whereas everyone else on the grid kind of has at least every other potential championship front runner has a hierarchy still to establish.
Yeah, someone's gonna be making a statement here in Australia. I don't think it's gonna be like, oh, look, a nice first race. I think we're coming out of the gate strong for 2025.
Yeah.
Because this is the last season.
We
We've all caught up to each other in some one way or another. There's gonna be a lot of team principal bitching. I just need everyone to know this. It's not just Red Bull. Everyone's gonna be snitching on each other because that's all they got. And this is part of the game. This is like when you're watching baseball and it's against not only you but the umpire. You're playing multiple games here, and one of them in Formula One is the team principal bitching to the FIA, believe it or not. And unfortunately, as much as we hate this man, Christian Horner is really good at that. He is so good at the team principal game. It annoys me so much because I don't want to say nice things about him, but he's so good at that game.
yeah.
Which is why I think all the other team principals also hate him, because Toto Wolff is catching up. I think it's like Christian Horner, Toto Wolff, and like Zach Brown. All the other team principals do not want to deal with this shit. I think Fred
I'd
just does it
swap
out of necessity.
I'd swap Zach Brown and Total Wolf at this point because
That's
Zach
fair.
Brown just feels like but Zach Brown's not the team principal.
That's
He's
your
McLaren
CCO.
Racing CEO.
But he does the role
But he's the
of stuff.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he's the public face.
He's the public face.
That was
Andrew Stella does not want to be bothered. He wants to just do his
No.
job, which I respect.
No.
His man just looks like he wants to be heads down. I want to get a paycheck. I want to do my job well, and I want to get the fuck home.
Yeah.
I do not want to
Yeah.
deal with the press and all this shenanigans.
And I think I've said it before, but I really like the way that Fred Vasseur is handling his responsibilities. In media sessions, if you ask him about another driver, another team, he will not comment. If you ask him like, what do you think about Christian Horner XYZ? He's not going to tell you.
Yeah.
He doesn't, and he will tell you specifically, I don't want to play that game. I am here to talk about my drivers and their performance and my car and how it's doing, and that's it. And if you don't have a question about that, I'm not going to answer it. Which, he'll have fun and he'll poke fun, which
Yeah.
I like because it shows he has a personality. But I personally get so sick of the mind games and the media games
The
and
politics,
the
yeah.
nonsense. So it's
Agreed.
like I know that I don't have to, worry about what the hell Fred Vasseur is going to say about anything. He gives really good interviews. I did a story on like his thoughts and feelings and whatnot for the season, and they were like, who's going to be the number one? Is it going to be Lewis or Charles? And do you think Charles is going to be better because he's had this is his 7th year? And he was just like, I've known both of these drivers since they were little kids, so I think they're both great. I was like, you damn straight.
I want everyone to have a
Like,
good
there's
race.
no undue pressure from him. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's very much like me, like, these are just my little guys.
These are, and I'm going to take care of my little ducklings as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how Ferrari does. One, right, you mentioned this Lewis Hamilton. It's either going to be, and this is not his fault. This is just the media and how we portray in Formula One and like what's going to happen. It's either going to be clinical masterpiece or absolute memeage occurring. There is no in between for Lewis, and I feel so bad just because he is who he is and he's built up such a reputation, and he's just all eyes on him. It's one or the other. There's gonna be no like, oh well, he tried, he's P5. It's gonna be like anything that's not a podium, done. Yeah. Everyone's gonna be like, he's old. I'm gonna get like a LeBron James comment on Lewis Hamilton. He's old. He's outlived the sport. Michael Schumacher's better than him. Michael Jordan's better. Who's better, Michael Jordan or Lewis Hamilton? We're just gonna get all these goddamn comparisons after the first race, and I'm just waiting for it. I can't. Ugh. Or it's gonna be clinical, and people are gonna be like, "Well, it's just Lewis Hamilton." So he's not gonna win.
He just got the best car.
He just got the best car. He's not gonna win.
Yeah.
But he's definitely, in my opinion, gonna make a statement. He's definitely gonna win. he definitely has to get a podium, or at least like P4, and I'd be happy with it. I'm excited to see something clinical with him. I'm also excited to see throughout the year Ferrari's strategy and if it has developed a little bit better. It's like an F1 version of escape rooms in my head. They never figure out the last piece of the puzzle in time. And then the buzzer rings and the checker flag's out and they're like, ah, shit, too late. So
I think that is one of the things feel like I've noticed with Fred coming in, because he's like, Ferrari almost always in its history has had an Italian team principal who is so involved in the Italian press and Italian business that they are unable to get their heads out of their asses when it comes time to, like, when the pressure's on, they just get so overwhelmed. And then that bleeds into the rest of the team, where then the rest of the team is so overwhelmed. I think Fred has a level head on his shoulders, at least enough where he can hear the chaos coming from around him and just like shut it out.
Yeah.
And be like, he's not the guy who's gonna come to his drivers or his pit crew and be like, the media says you did XYZ and we can't have Corriere della Sera saying this about us because it's the Italian newspaper, so you need to fix it. So I think there's at least a little bit of a benefit in that regard, but there is still some questionable strategery going on.
Yeah, and we'll see if they get it on lock, right? That's just consistency and see what we do there. I am nervous if Leclerc and Hamilton start fighting for the same corner or switching back and forth positions. That's gonna unravel real quick.
Yeah.
And then we all need therapy. Ferrari fans, Lewis Hamilton fans, it's just more than 50% of the F1 fan base is going to need therapy if that ever occurs. That's going to be a terrible Twitter experience for sure if that does occur.
God.
They crash each other out. I think, okay, I was talking about this in the Discord. People were like, who's number one driver in Ferrari? And I was like, to me, it's Hamilton. I only have him for X number of years. Charles Leclerc is going to stay forever. It's just like that meme. It's like you're just patting him on the head. He's just a good boy. He was made for Ferrari. He's going to be there forever. We pay him well. He's always wanted to be a Ferrari driver. We're still going to treat him well. It's not going to be like a huge discrepancy that Red Bull does, right? But it's not going to be like, oh, Mercedes, like, I'm sorry, McLaren of, oh, you know, if you could just maybe give this position back. They're not going to tell him to do that. They're not going to tell Lewis to do that for sure. So I think it's definitely Lewis Hamilton for a little bit, and then it'll switch back to Charles Leclerc whenever Lewis Hamilton decides to leave.
See, I think it's Charles Leclerc. And Lewis Hamilton, because they know maybe Lewis Hamilton's time is limited, that they want to make sure that they keep Charles Leclerc. If you're Charles Leclerc and you know that your teammate is getting preferential treatment and whatever because I don't know, because they think their time is limited with him or whatever, you're gonna want to leave.
Why?
And I know that there's not many great options for him and places for him to go. But
the team. No one man is more important than the team. No one
think
coach,
they see the future
no
with
one
Leclerc.
quarterback, no one anyone. The team. And Charles Leclerc will do it for the team, and then he'll be number one later.
But I just don't know, man. I just don't know.
Yeah, I know. With Fred is a question mark, but in general, in the Ferrari as a whole, I think they want to win.
Yeah, and I think they think Charles Leclerc can do it because Charles Leclerc has proven that he can do it. And Lewis Hamilton is
that Carlos Sainz instead of Charles Leclerc.
Like, Lewis Hamilton, I think has... I think they're at least going to go in the season. Charles Leclerc, we know he's known quantity. He's known entity. We know he can perform. We know he can do well. Lewis Hamilton, we do not know how he will perform in this car. We do not know how he performs in our pit stops, in our, strategy meetings, in our XYZ. I think if they're going to switch allegiances, maybe they do that at some point later in the year, but they're going into this year because they know Charles Leclerc has his shit together. Like, they know
but
they
not
can
winning,
rely on him.
but not winning shit together. Consistently winning. This man still has issues with like pressure handling, wet weather racing. I mean, he has the worst pull to race conversion out of anyone on the grid. He's just like again, pat. Do what you need to do. We're gonna send Big Lou over here. You get P3, P2, whatever you can get. We're expecting Big Lou to get P1.
I just don't know, man. I just don't know. Like,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
there you go.
I 100% agree with you that like Charles Leclerc, his conversion is not great, and he definitely is. I don't know. He can be a mess. He can get in his own head. He can lose it to the pressure.
The issue here is we're talking about when we talk about Charles Leclerc and like Lando. Well, Lewis Hamilton is Lewis Hamilton, and then it's like Max
Yeah.
Verstappen. When we're talking about Charles Leclerc, of course, it's not like comparatively to the rest of the grid because those guys are in a different league. Like I'm not
Hmm.
talking about Esteban Ocon when we're talking about Charles Leclerc not doing well. Like we're
Yeah.
the problem is there's different levels of being a great driver within Formula
Hmm.
One. So Charles Leclerc is still a top five driver. He just has to stop being P5 or like barely making it to P5, whether it's because of strategy or his inconsistency or bad wet weather management or his
Yeah.
tire wear pace and things like that, not
But
handling
I
under
still
pressure.
think he's gonna be the guy shouldering the team's expectations until Lewis can prove where he's gonna be. Because like Carlos Sainz was fine.
Yeah.
He was another one of those drivers that was like he could be fine and he could do all right, but he didn't always convert, and sometimes he got in his own head. Um, and I do think Lewis is a similar kind of person. If I'm going to be completely honest, I don't think we just saw him win so much that it kind of gets lost that he is one of those guys who can be emotional and who can like lose himself in the middle of a race. I think back to all those times of like he's not doing well and he's like, can I just retire the car? You know
Okay.
what I mean?
But even then, when that I would argue that was one of his lowest points. Even then when he was
Yeah.
like, I want to retire, he got that penalty from like the race jump. He was
Hmm.
on the radio. I've never
Hmm.
heard him just be so down on himself and give up.
Hmm.
He still made up a 12-second gap, gained 3 positions when he was in the worst mental state of his life in Qatar, and
Yeah.
then they let him retire. He was still
Hmm.
Lewis Hamilton, shittily mentally. Can you imagine him locked in?
Hmm.
He still did all of that
I
when
mean,
he wasn't
but he also,
locked in.
I think he still had like the way that him and Toto and the Mercedes crew worked together. I think they all kind of understood each other. And I don't think they necessarily speak Lewis's language yet at Ferrari. So Bono and Toto kind of knew how to get
Yeah.
Lewis pumped back up. So I think that there is going to be this learning curve that they have, at least with that. Um, I don't think it's like I don't see Lewis doing terribly, and I
Right.
don't see him like dropping the ball or anything. Um, I just think it is going to be, I don't know. We look at him with such regard
Yeah.
and so highly because he is a fantastic driver,
Mm-hmm.
but we have not seen him in this situation swapping teams
For
since he was y
10
pretty young.
years? 9 years?
It's been over 12 years.
Yeah.
It was 12
Oh,
years
12
ago
years.
that
Okay.
he signed from McLaren to Mercedes. In that time, he has changed immensely, obviously, but he also has kind of solidified certain things that he does, that he thinks about. So I don't know. I just think, I just think it's gonna be one of those like hands off for a second, like let's just see what the hell
What's happening?
happens for 3 races.
Sure.
Um, but we know we can trust Charles Leclerc. Maybe we can't trust him to win, but we can at least trust him to go out and do something on the track.
Yeah.
With Lewis, we have to figure out how we handle him because we
Sure.
don't
Yeah. Yeah.
know. And I think there's also a lot of, we're not taking into account the pressure on the team members who are now working with a 7-time world champion, who the strategy guys have to be on top of their game, and they're fucking Ferrari strategy guys, and they aren't.
They're stuck
We
in the
have the
escape
pit,
room.
yeah, we have the pit crew guys who maybe they're fine with Charles Leclerc, but they get loose and it's like, oh shit, it's Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
We have to change his tires and fucking we fumble it. So I think like I don't think this is all it is a team sport. So Lewis, I think, is one aspect of this, but there's a whole constellation of other human beings around him who need to be able to put that in the back of their mind. I know when I am talking to Lewis Hamilton after a race, it is very fucking hard because he's Lewis Hamilton. he's the guy. He's
Yeah.
the dude. I can't you look at him and he has like he brings with him this aura and you just know he's a fucking mensch. Um
And
and
Charlotte
I'm sure
Claire's a
that
cool little
there's this
guy.
yeah.
He's so chill.
Like Charles Leclerc, I'm just like, oh, he's a little sad boy. You know, like he's just my little guy. But Lewis Hamilton, I'm like, this is racing royalty. And I think that there's going to be some of that needs to get worked over in the first couple of races with the team.
Yeah. I don't fully disagree with you. And to just build up
Yeah.
on what you said, like we trust Charles to do that and we're gonna see what Lewis is. To me, it's just like, let's talk about like siblings mentality. Like the older sibling who has been there, who has like been part of this
Hmm.
family for a while. They take care of everyone else. They make sure the house is still running. Blah 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 blah. Fred Vasseur is a single dad to two boys right now, and he trusts Charles Leclerc. He's going to leave him home alone, and he's giving his attention to me, to Lewis Hamilton,
Hmm.
to make sure he can perform well and do all this stuff.
Hmm.
So in my head, that's why I'm going like number one, number two. I'm not saying Charles. By the way, I'm not saying Charles can't win races. I'm just saying he doesn't have the. He has not shown the consistency that we've needed from
Yeah.
him, in certain racecraft abilities. So yeah, he's just the older sibling who, I mean, to some people's point, to your point too, that he might feel taken advantage of, and when he turns 18, he might be done with this and go somewhere else that'll treat him well, and appreciate him. But I think Fred will do a good job, and I think Ferrari will do a good
Yeah.
job to make them both happy. I just think currently they'll be giving their attention to Lewis to make sure he adapts
I guess
quickly. They don't have time for
if
him to dick
you're
around.
if you're ranking based on who's getting more of the prep and attention, then yeah, I would agree. Like Lewis is going to get the bulk of that because they've done this with Charles 6 other times now. They've
Yeah.
raced at Australia with him 6 other times or whatever, five because of COVID. So like they at least have that process down. So I do agree with that 100%. I think it's just going to be I think it's going to be interesting because I think we
Yeah.
have seen Charles Leclerc improve over the last couple of years.
Hmm.
Like there's a tangible the fact that he even I mean it wasn't like Monaco was dramatically exciting last year, but the fact that he was able to hold it together and
Yeah.
finish that race and win it
It's a good step.
was a big deal. The fact that he could pull that off in Monza as well, another high pressure race, shows that he's at least got a little something. He's putting the pieces together. I like to think that if you got Lewis Hamilton there, Lewis will be relying on Charles because there's so much that will be different from Mercedes that he will want to talk to someone who knows. Um, and I'm hoping that Charles will get the same like back and forth of like, how
Hmm.
the fuck do you get over yourself?
Yeah, yeah.
And get over this mental block.
That'd be great.
And go. And I think Fred is a great person for that because again, he's worked with both of those drivers when they were very young. Um, and I think that helps because it shows they have a respect for him and he knows how they've grown and seen how far they've come and what it took for them to get there.
Yeah.
So I think Fred probably more than anyone else on that grid understands like, okay, Charles, you need XYZ to make like, you need to get your head out of your ass and think about this instead.
Yeah, it says Boone says Lewis will also tell him when their strategy is bad in a way Charles has it in the past. He can get himself out of the escape room at the end. Yeah, that'll be very interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, empowering Charles Leclerc is actually
Mhm.
a good point that I did not consider. That might be just good for them to just chat and just be homies. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
They seem to be getting along really well. I mean, I think it'd be hard to not get along with either of them as teammates. It seems like each
Yeah.
of their teammates have liked working with them, so it's a nice
Mhm.
combo. I think. Be great. Another team we're looking at is obviously a McLaren. And
McLaren.
this is us in best case scenario of what can happen in Australia this year, by the way. We fully know it could all go to hell. First lap.
Yeah.
Lando Norris is P20. Didn't qualify well. Doesn't care anymore. He's decided to party his life out as opposed to trying. I would like to think he's finally locked in to win his championship as opposed to another cool podium picture for Instagram. Like I am hoping like that is his mentality this year. We've seen glimmers of him having an incredible race. And then he just like there's like a couple things that doesn't get put together, whether that's on McLaren's side. God forbid, I hope they stop yapping on the fucking radio. I can't.
Yeah.
That pisses me off so. What are you possibly talking about on there? Tell him what he needs to do. What is this riddle? Talk about an escape room. Lando Norris, you can only win if you escape this room. It's so frustrating. So if Lando has learned, if McLaren has gotten their shit together, that's a lot of ifs. I understand that. But if he can put a lap together, I think we have ourselves a world driver champion at this point. If he can be as good as he was last year and just put all that together, he is fine. I do appreciate that he said a lot of it was luck, or it was luck for Miami. I was like, oh, okay. As long as we're all level setting here. Thank you so much. Okay, I feel pretty much better about that. But yeah, I think we have our new World Driver Championship, and I don't know if we'll see that right away in Australia, but it'd be interesting to hear his radio. Something I'll definitely be looking into, and yeah, see if he can just do that. See if he's locked in. Lewis is locked in. Max is locked in. I love that they showed that in Drive to Survive. They're like, Max doesn't give a shit about anyone. Lando Norris likes cats. I was like, yeah, let's see how this plays out.
My heart, maybe not my brain, but I think my brain too, is focusing more on Piastri this year, just more than Norris, because I don't think we've seen necessarily, I don't know.
He's had a faster improvement rate.
He's had a faster improvement rate,
but he
and
still
I
can't
haven't
pass people
seen
for his life.
But I also haven't seen Lando get enough out of his own head yet.
Yeah.
Even at the prize giving gala, where he was like addressing comments he made to Max in one of the radio clips that they showed, where I was like,
know that.
Yeah,
unfortunate.
You need to like, he just has not given me this indication that he has risen above the pressure from what we've seen. Piastri, I have seen him rise above the pressure. I haven't seen him get bogged down in the bullshit quite yet. But I've seen Lando get sucked up into it, and I just don't. I'm interested to see if like this off season has helped. I don't know that it's enough time for it to do so. I don't know. We just don't know.
Yeah, I'm with Trap on this one. We've seen what Norris is capable of. We haven't seen how Piastri responds to pressure for a championship, which could be very big, Lewis. It could. I'm happy to see Piastri be the first Australian to win the Australian Grand Prix. Is that the stat right? Like, no Australians ever won the Australian Grand Prix. Daniel Ricciardo couldn't do it. Mark Webber couldn't do it.
Daniel Ricciardo did it and then got disqualified, I believe.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
Yeah. It only half counts.
Do we want to give it to him? Okay, we'll halfway. We'll see if he can win it and keep it. and not get disqualified for like a flexi wing or something. It'd be interesting. Yeah, if everyone else has to be careful. If everyone's looking for them, I think everyone's okay with Red Bull because they're like, oh, Liam, that's fine. Max is always someone to be worried about. Can the car perform? We've seen it go back and forth. We'll see what upgrades they bring. We'll see how good it is. But I think everyone's worried about McLaren is the one we're all worried about for Australia and to see what they got. Plus, they have really good two capable drivers that we 100% know of both of them. If Norris can stay out of his own head and put his race together that we've seen glimmers of from like parts, like we've seen 66% in this race, 66% there, and they're all different parts of the 66%. If you can put all of it together to make 100%, we're good to go. Otherwise, Oscar would be like, see ya.
Yeah.
Deuces, dude. I think it'd be really fun if Piastri crashed it. Oh, I mean, like, crushed it, not like crashed it. Sorry, that was a very bad metaphor.
Crashed all of Lando's hopes and dreams.
Correct. I did not mean, like, he's crashing in Australia. My bad. Terrible metaphor for motorsports. My apologies. My absolute apologies. Who else am I looking for? Mercedes will be interesting. It's funny. My significant other watched the first episode with George looking so smug because, like, when Lewis Hamilton announced, what did he say? He exactly said these words. They were standing there, whether it was the car launch or something, and he goes, George looks so smug. Hell yeah, it's my time. And then he turns out to be extremely mid.
Yeah.
He's just not impressed by George Russell and anything he has to say.
Me either.
Vapor says Piastri has all the tools of an elite driver. He's just missing a bit of pace. If he can find a bit more to dial in the car, he can take the title. He's not good with overtaking, which is evident when you watch the first Australian GP. Overtaking and defending. And I don't know if that's just like an experience thing he's going to get or like doesn't want to do Max Verstappen type, or like he's still trying to find his driver style in Formula One because comparatively to Lando, which is going to be his third year this year, and Lando, this is going to be his seventh season. Yeah, I'll give Piastri grace. If we give Lando Norris 7 seasons, I'm happy to give Oscar Piastri, who's shown so many potential winning future GP, future WDC. No problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
No issue there on my part. I'm happy to be a lot more lenient than Briatore. No problem here. But yeah, someone's got to make a statement in Melbourne. It's gonna be really, really fun, especially if it does rain. A lot of folks from Australia that I see in the comments about, like, when people post about the rain on TikTok or Instagram are like, it's Australia though. It's kind of like similar to Florida where it says rain, but it might not rain for those times, and then all of a sudden it'll just rain afterwards. So 80% rain kind of is up in the air, especially in that part of where the track is. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. Oh, and I wonder if we'll have any reliability issues. Last year we had no DNFs. Is that correct? Oh no, that's not true. Or mechanical DNFs at least.
Yeah.
Something like that. Because George Russell yeeted himself in the ground. Fernando Alonso went yeet. So I think no mechanical DNFs was like one of the first things or something like that. So that'd be very interesting. Oh, Max's brake exploded. That's not true.
That's right.
That's right. And then Brembo was like, it wasn't us, it was a setup. Their immediate statement afterwards was, not me.
Not me.
Not the brakes. It's all Red Bull's fault. Touche.
Do you have any bold predictions for this season?
I think we kind of went over that when we did our fantasy draft. My Delulu prediction is Lewis Hamilton will be a world driver champion, but that's just me really appreciating Lewis Hamilton for what he is. Realistically, from my ideal perceptions, it is Lando Norris if he can lock it in.
Yeah,
because I think Piastri will be there to hold him up and pull like a Checo Perez. Be a second banana pretty well.
My bold prediction is Haas 5th in the constructors.
Ooh, you didn't think of the car? I definitely think Williams will be up there. Williams did better. The one Williams did better than Alpines and all the other ones last year, and that was with Alex Albon. So I think they'll do pretty well also this year.
I think they're gonna be 6th.
Okay.
I got Haas.
I'll agree
5th.
with that. I like that. I like the 5th, 6th.
Williams 6th.
I'm a big fan of that.
I'm excited. I'm like hyped for
The
like lower down the field teams. I don't know why. I'm excited. I like Esteban Ocon. I like Oliver Behrman. I like Haas. I can't wait to see what they all do together.
Who will Ocon take out first this season? Behrman or Gasly?
Go right for Gasly.
Target set. Gasly. It's been interesting to see. Poor Jack doing. He's just not. Would you bother? I guess I would race for a couple races so I can say I was a Formula One driver.
Yeah. I mean, why not?
Poor dude.
Yeah.
Again, his fault. But also, poor dude. He's got no one in his corner. I feel it's just bleh. Everyone's advocating for everyone else so much. Yeah, it is. I'm excited for this first race. I just letting everyone also level set. I am pro changing your opinions and minds as you get more evidence. Yes. So as the first race occurs, and I see Ferrari cannot leave the escape room, Lewis Hamilton will no longer win. Will no longer be a WTC in my delusional head. I know it's one race out of 24, but still, it's just we're looking for patterns here. Yes, that's the big thing. One-off things are nice, but we're looking for consistency because that's what wins championships, baby.
Amen.
Go F1. Woo!
Woohoo! I came to a guy, said I was with Elizabeth till she said she likes Ocon. I think here's my thing on Esteban Ocon. Is he the world's greatest driver? No. Is he decent enough? Yes. He's also just a very nice person, and that is where most of my enjoyment of him comes from. When you talk to the drivers, like in the pre-race media days and stuff, he's one of the guys who always gives you a good quote, which never matters because, like, no one cares what Alpine is doing. Maybe it'll matter more with Haas this year, but he's always been nice and friendly and descriptive, which I think is important. He gives you thoughts and feelings and context. Sometimes getting context from people is like, certainly racing drivers, it's like, painful, physically painful.
Here's the thing. So it's interesting. Mina Kimes said this about quarterbacks, which, like, I kind of agree, but I also think this is much more important and more poignant for drivers, right? Mm-hmm. She said being a driver is being a good driver is such a fine line in public perception and being a great driver in the way that being a woman is too. It's like You can have an aggressive driving style, but not too aggressive, because then you're just
Yeah.
launching in everyone's corner. You can be a really funny guy and bring in sponsors, but if you're a shit driver, then you're not good enough for Formula One. You can be a really nice guy on the track, but then you're not aggressive enough because you're not overtaking and doing what you need to do. I feel like that is more prevalent for F1 drivers, which is also now my prevalent theory of why women relate to F1 drivers, because they're like, yeah, wow, they say he's too aggressive. And I think,
Yeah.
he's not coming off bitchy enough, or like you can't be this
That's
rude. You
actually
can
a
be
great point.
Can't be this rude on the radio, because then you're too bitchy and too demanding as a driver. Oh, you're complaining about tires that you feel under yourself. Now you're whinging when you should just
Yeah.
suck it up. There's like, you can't win as
You
a
know
Formula One
what?
driver, and it is so inherently frustrating. And I'm like, this is such an F1 thing. I think it's more like it's a bigger issue in F1 than it is for being like a
than anywhere
quarterback.
else.
Yeah, because you can be an aggressive. I feel like in my head, I've seen like aggressive quarterbacks or people whatever, and people are like, just whatever. It's the NFL. But for F1, it's always constantly like, this driver's whinging. I was like, yeah, because he's driving 200 miles per hour, and his tires are fucking failing, and he's confused as to why you put him on softs as opposed to mediums. Of course, he's whinging. He's trying to win. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
He's got like
Of
$20 million
course.
driving in his car. He's trying to take care of you for you. It's just, yeah. Oh my God, they should take up space on the track, but not too much space, because that's not fair.
Yeah.
They should be dive bombing in the corner, but I want them to pass more aggressively. It's just like, oh my God, what
All
do you
of the
want your drivers to
bullshit
do?
rules
Yeah.
that like they have to follow. Yeah, that's actually a great point. I like that. I'm gonna stew on that. I might write a blog about that.
Yeah, go stew on that. It's just frustrating, and like, shout out Mina for pointing that out for quarterbacks. But I was just thinking about it for Formula One and just general drivers in NASCAR too. It'd be like, oh, you can be aggressive and door someone, but only if you're so and so, because then it's okay. But if you don't door someone, then you weren't trying hard enough to win the race. Jesus fucking Christ, what do you want from me? It's just like, no driver can win, because they're either constantly whinging, they're constantly bitching, they're too aggressive, they're not aggressive enough, and no one's happy with anything that anyone's doing on the racetrack ever. And it's just like, oh my God.
I don't know.
Oh, hi, Smet. F1 drivers should just shut up and keep the peace. Yeah, go talk to your mother-in-laws. Yeah, circle back to a full stream. Go talk to your mother-in-laws, and we'll see you there. It's so inherently frustrating. Anything for Australia? Any crazy predictions for you?
Not really.
Do you want to say something crazy? Who do we have? McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes.
Let me hold on. I gotta
podium?
pee so bad.
Oh, go ahead.
Let me go do that. Let me stew on that. I'll be right back in like 30
Yeah,
seconds.
give me a fake podium here. Oh yeah, hydrate. I'm hydrated.
Fake podium. I got.
I'm not anti-Leclerc. He just hasn't shown me the consistency that I need. Speaking of drivers who are like not aggressive enough, but not too aggressive, Charles Leclerc. Speaking of, again, he has bad tire management. He does great qualifying, not good racing. I just don't know where the disconnect is. You can always put up a banger qualifying lap. You just gotta keep it in the race. We all make fun of Lando Norris for losing P1. I don't think we make fun of Charles Leclerc enough. Give him the same amount of pressure. We don't make fun of Charles Leclerc enough because he's baby girl. And that's okay. Because he's nice. And we like him. And he's just a little guy. He's not aggressive enough. Tommy goes Leclerc, Norris overrated. Super talented, but not world champion consistency needed. General Smitty says Hamilton, Norris, Verstappen. Who's better over one lap? Same car, Verstappen. Liam says Norris, Leclerc, Verstappen. Would I like to see everyone do well and get a podium one day? Sure, but that's just not the way the sport works. Do I want everyone to win the Super Bowl and the Stanley Cup one day? Absolutely. It'd be nice if all these little guys who beat the shit out of each other on the ice had a little banner hanging for it, you know? Like WWE. Chuck is 27, 28? He's not old. We need to also start talking about age in motorsports like this. I just think motorsports is different, where it's not like... Yes, LeBron is LeBron James, and he can obviously play for decades at a very high level. Well, he's like a top 5 player comparatively to all the league. And that is very rare. I just think now in motorsports, as we're pushing them so young, there's just so much ceiling to keep hitting and to keep consistent. It's just like we might if Kimi Antonelli is the second coming of Jesus Christ, he might be there till he's 50. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. He might be in F1 forever if he's really as good as we say he is. So,
All right.
I do like your Wood
I
Brothers merch.
have my predictions.
All right, let's go.
Pole position. I'm
Ooh,
starting out with
let's go.
pole position. Pole position is gonna be Charles Leclerc.
Nice. I'll agree with that.
Podium. Let's start from third. Leclerc, third. Piastri, second. Hamilton win.
Oh, I like that. I'm a fan of this podium.
I am going solely off of vibes and nothing more. Vibes, hopes, and dreams. We'll see if I am right in any of these capacities.
Chap goes, I wish Ferrari was that capable.
Girl, I'm dreaming.
Yeah,
I'm hoping and dreaming.
We're still in the ideal scenario of we think they have locked it up for 2025. This can all go to shit in 2026 with the new regs and everything, and that's fine. But in 2025, you had all these years to build up from this car and this testing. You think you would have locked it in. Maybe. We have the same tire compounds as last year. We're not doing we're not doing like the step down that we did from 2023 to 2024. Same exact tire compounds. We got 4 DRS zones, which I think is too much, but that's just my opinion. We got the same shit, okay? We know exactly what happened. We'll have Fernando Alonso started on the hards. He lost 2 spots, but it actually worked out for him in the long run. Like, we know what to do. Leclerc with the undercut on Piastri? Orlando? Anyway, on McLaren in response, and it worked out for that. Ferrari did something good. Pat. I think as a fan base, we need to be better about rewarding as we are on shitting on our favorite teams. It'd be like, good, reinforce this behavior.
Well done, fellas.
Well done. Pat. We need to be so much more enthusiastic when they do well, so they keep doing well because it feels good, as opposed to when they do terribly and they just get shit on, they just feel so sad.
Yeah, and then you get in the shit spiral.
Nothing feels good about just getting absolutely reamed on in social media after trying to do your job. Can you imagine everyone watching you in your cubicle? Just millions of people, 1 billion people. Yeeks. Asian Skill says, I say Norris pole, but Piastri, Norris, Leclerc podium. Interesting.
I can see that.
I like how there's a combination of Stroll turn 1 crash with Lawson. You think they'd be in the midfield and just do that? Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I forgot Stroll existed till you said that. There's always someone I forget, and he is the current person that I forget that is on the field. I know Aston Martin have another driver. Yeah. I just forget that it is him.
He's just kind of there.
Hot take, everyone that finishes gets points. I like that. That's a good one.
Ooh.
I like that. Who is Lance Stroll? Put him in the Valkyrie already.
I think P20, like, at the end of the day, Gabriel Bortoleto.
Podium, Hamilton, Lando. Podium is going to be Hamilton third, Lando second, Leclerc first from Camden. Francis says Hamilton pole, Hamilton, Leclerc, Norris. That one guy says Charles pole, Lando P3, Lewis P2, Charles P1. Wow, we really have faith in the Ferrari.
I think it's like hard not to right now, dude.
I don't know. Didn't they have to pack up early? They said they found the issue, but they still packed up early. There still was an issue.
Packed up early
from testing. They're like the first team that like packed it up. They said they found an issue with Lewis Hamilton's car, and then they're like, "Oh, but we addressed it. We figured it out. We know what it was." And I was like, "Okay, what is this issue? Are you lying to me? Is this like a fake out?" I would do that if I was team principal. I'd be petty. I'd be like, "We got our info. Just say shit hit the fan, and we're gonna do terribly this year. Pack it all up."
I don't know, man. Maybe they're the ones sandbagging and not Red Bull, like people think.
I like Secret Ingredient says they're so confident that they went home early. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe that's what we're thinking. It's reverse psychology. I'm a big fan of that. All right, chat. Elizabeth, anything from you this week that people should be aware of as I put your stuff in the chat?
No. It's one of those weeks. I have not thought much about what I'm doing this week because I have been sick. So follow me on social media, probably Blue Sky, for my live thoughts on the Formula One race. I will have articles about something, just haven't decided yet. I will have a blog later this week. on my Substack for Deadly Passions, Terrible Joys, either about something related to Drive to Survive, depending on if I think of things, or about there's an Ernest Hemingway quote about motorsport that I fucking hate. And I wrote a like 6-page takedown of why I fucking hate that quote. Um, so that's like ripper and ready to go whenever I have a time. So
Oh,
stay tuned for that.
there was a stat that James pulled for our WTF1 podcast that F1 published last year, and it was every team that won two'd in Australia then won the constructors championship.
Ooh.
But I was like, yeah, but that's not a stat. That's the correlation's not causation. I was like, I could say that about Spa. Like, I could probably find another racetrack. I could probably find another track where they went 1-2, and then that meant they won. That just means they have a good car, good reliability, and good drivers. It doesn't actually mean like Australia is not the cause of them winning. And I was like, I hate how they wrote this stat. And then they wrote something for 2024 in the stats. They're like, if Charles Leclerc switched blah blah blah, and I was like, what is it? What are we doing here? What is this if?
That's crazy.
This is insane. Like, why are we writing this? It made me think of the Max Verstappen quote that if my mother had balls, she'd be my father. Like, if. Like, I can make these if statements all the time in these, like, in these F1 stats and analysis. And Francis made a good point in the Discord that there was a great article of how people can just use or manipulate essentially stats, right? And we learned this in school, definitely in stats class and in math, that you can, like, just manipulate stats and, like, make them say what you want to say and just be like, oh, this is how I calculated it. How did you calculate it? It's all wrong. So... and my grandmother had wheels. She would have been a bike. Yeah. I thought that was a wild stats here. But,
yeah.
I'll be doing a watch along for F1 for sure for the race at midnight, which is Sunday. Is it Sunday? Yeah, it's Sunday midnight. So Saturday to Sunday. I don't know if I'll be doing Sebring because it's St. Patrick's Day bar crawl. TBD on that, but definitely watch Sebring. Definitely watch NASCAR. I think I should probably do a NASCAR watch along. I haven't done those forever, but I will definitely be doing Formula One for the Australian Grand Prix, the Grand Prize. So if you know someone who wants to watch along with us, ask questions, hang out, be cool, tell them to come on over. Yeah. Otherwise, support local, including your racetracks. So we stopped having street circuits, like wherever the Madrid thing came out. That looked awful. And let's see. What else? Birds are government drones. Drink water. Take your meds. Text a friend that you've been thinking about them.
Touch grass.
Ask them how they're doing. And go touch grass. Should be nice outside, hopefully.
Support local, including your local racetracks.
Including your local racetracks. Bye, everyone. Elizabeth, thank you for your time. Thanks for hanging out with us all the time. Thanks for letting us yap.
Of course.
I appreciate it.
Nowhere else I'd rather be.
Chat, make sure you appreciate Elizabeth a little bit more so she doesn't leave us. Thank you. Where's my music? There it is. Let's get some tunes here. Some more Billy talent.
Yo.
Yo.
Seen us act like this. Our only hope is the minds of kids. And they'll show us a thing or two.